1 million families. But you know what? There are a lot of other endangered species that live here. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. Okay, let's go back to our old friend sea level. And over here is a picture of the San Francisco Bay. Here you can see. And this green spot is Tracy, California. And in Tracy, California lives the main pumping stations to send water down the aqueduct to Los Angeles. Okay, now let's send sea level rise 1 meter. And the blue area now shows the extent of the water. Didn't exist here, is here now, impinges on Tracy. So we're going to be pumping salt water down to Los Angeles, unless we do something about that. And again, 1 meter is state of California is planning for closer to 1.3 meters increase. So this is not a blue sky figure. It's not a scare figure. There's another battle going on in the San Francisco Bay, which is all salty here, and the marshes in here in the delta, which are freshwater. Right, dividing them is a salt wedge. Salt water here, fresh water here, and these two are fighting back and forth all the time like that. Well, what happens is that we can let enough water out of the dams now to keep the freshwater force back strong enough to hold that salt wedge out in the delta where it doesn't care. But as we run out of fresh water because there's less snowpack, less runoff, that salt wedge now is going to move back into the delta. And again, here's the place where they're sucking the fresh water out. Again, you have a problem with the salinization of the water being sent down to Los Angeles and therefore to us. About half of the water, again, comes from the delta, half from the Colorado. See, no matter which way you cut it, our future, our horizon here looks really bleak unless we get off the stick and do something now. There are things that can be done, but nobody wants to even think about that at the moment. Okay, so we have a climate crisis in the western water supply. We got lucky this year with a big snowpack, but if it had been normal, we'd been basically in deeper trouble than we were. Remember just last year we had rationing and all that? It's sort of like this guy here, our position. He's taken the drop, 60 foot, and now he's got a choice. He can turn hard right and hopefully escape, or he can continue going on down, let this thing back and break in back of him, and he's toast. And so our choices are just about that simple. Do we turn right, start changing our ways, or do we go ahead and just say, well, let it happen, can't be too bad. I promise to stay local, but I do want to give you just a global picture. I could have given these examples from any place on the globe. Water, it turns out, is going to be a major problem. Let's look at this for a minute. The areas in these blue hatches here are areas where the water supply depends on snowfall. And in a warmer world, there will be less snow. The underlie here is population. So the bright colors out in here are populations, India and China, as you would guess. India and China are two most water-poor countries in the world, believe it or not. So they need the water. Let's see. That sort of is a scenario for the next 50 or 100 years. We can see the greenhouse signal everywhere now. In physics, chemistry, we can verify it mathematically. It's there. There's no issues about it. Suppose we were to stabilize global emissions. That means we put out no more CO2 than what we're putting out today. And we could do that in the next 50 years. That would you'd have to change the whole world economy around to handle that. And there's another little nasty trick in that the ocean is storing this heat. And we've got about 50 years worth of heat of catch-up to do to where the oceans are in equilibrium with the overlying atmosphere. So that means we basically got another 100 years of warming. All of the things I've shown you have a time horizon of anywhere from 20 to 40 years out. So you see right away we got a problem, even if we could stabilize. There's the permafrost nightmare that I keep having. There's a continuous rise in sea level that has more implications. But one of the main ones is the social disorder. People have just forgotten about that. Today in Northeast China live 380 million people that grow their crops with meltwater from the glaciers in the Himalayas. Those glaciers are projected to be gone by, say, 2060, more or less. what are those 380 million people going to do? They're going to sit there and die, starve to death? No, I don't think so. They're going to want to go somewhere where there's water. And you can bet that they're not going to be welcome. So what are they going to do about it? I mean, the regional conflicts that can arise are just immense, just immense. So I think, basically we don't have control of the situation. People talk about tipping points. We passed the tipping point a long time ago, guys. The only thing we have a chance to control is the magnitude of the hit we're going to take. And if we don't get on that right away, you can do whatever you want. It won't make much difference. I will add one thing, that of the CO2 that's in the atmosphere today, 1,000 years from now, 40% of it will be left. So we've created a huge long time horizon here, but the rubber is going to hit the track during your lifetime. What can we do? What do we do about this? There are a lot of things personally you can do, mainly up to the governments and whatnot. If they want to be responsible, they can begin to reduce the carbon addiction that we have, minimize our future problems. After watching those jokers argue about the national budget and the national debt, almost kill each other over 1% of the national annual expenditures, and then looking at the magnitude of this problem, which is hundreds and thousands of times bigger, I frankly don't have any faith with them. They'll go right on down till the ship sinks. Well, what's the do nothing? If we do nothing, then what happens? The future that I showed you is here, and you're taking this kind of an attitude. He was pointing the gun at the guy on the dock. Remember the movie? Remember what happened to the guy on the dock? Right. So we're locked into a future. I would say our next 20 or 30 years we probably can't do very much about. We're going to take it right on the chin or wherever else, and there's not a damn thing that we can do about it. And that's really depressing. And maybe that's why people don't like to, to hear talks like this. But I'm sorry, if a doctor says you have a lump and I think we ought to take it out, you don't turn and leave the office. Oh, he said I had a lump. What kind of guy is that? You do it right. So this is where we are, and it's a scary place to be. So I want to thank you very much. I have one question for you as a group. I was going to ask you before. I know last time I was here, I asked, well, how many of you people at the start of the talk really believe in this global warming malarkey? Not very many hands went up. Now, and at the end of the talk, I said, well, how many of you believe in this global warming malarkey now? 2 or 3 hands went up, or more, 2 or 3 more. I was gratified. Wow, at least I got 1 or 2 converts here. But now after talking today, I don't know where you were. Is there any of you that have changed your view on the global warming issue? Just yes or no? Nope, nobody has? Okay, so the question is then, do you believe it, all believe it, or all disbelieve it?
Go ahead and raise your hand if you believe it.
Oh, that's a wonderful start. Take the message home with you, please. And first, one of the best things you can do as you get to voting age is, for God's sakes, vote for somebody that has an idea what a sustainability, has a green button on their thing or something. We have too many of the other kind of guys now. Okay, well, thank you very much.